Welcome back. Stage 9, big drama in the Tour de France, Saint-Léonard-de-Noblat to Puy de Dome, 182.4 kilometers. That's stage 9 of the 2023 Tour de France. This is Tyler Yonke, Between Two Wheels podcast. We had drama. We had Canada. We had USA. We had other people with it. So there was a heartbreak today. Maybe you had heartbreak yesterday for Cavendish. I didn't have so much heartbreak. I had some heartbreak today, and we're going to get right to it. People, this is an exciting stage. Hang on.
Massive number of people have been upgrading. Yes,
there you go. You see the graceful limb that you were talking about before.
The race we've got yet again, and a victor then goes victory to an American, Andy Hampton.
The felt it go by. He looks at the Colombian rider. How are you doing?
Straight past Santiago Botero, and he's coming up to Pantani.
Armstrong is sitting in the last few hundred meters as we come towards the finish of this monumental stage. And Armstrong,
as we start to approach the line now, Pantani grits his teeth and accelerates and over the line.
Is going now to win stage number 15. Sepp Kuss, an emotional finish from Durango in the USA. Sepp Kuss wins.
Dead man's party. That's right. That's how we're doing this one today. A dead man at the last 500 meters. We'll get into it. Welcome, everybody. So, pretty dramatic day. We have, what is tomorrow? Tomorrow's a rest day. 9 stages in, and this thing is a seesaw back and forth. This is one of the best opening Tours de France I think we've seen in a long time. Look, we talked about the Giro. There's some slow bake, but, ended on a super high note. Like Cavendish wins the last day, but before that, we had the individual time trial, which was just fantastic. It's not what we have here, but we're starting out. This race is fantastic from the get-go, and we're going to get right into it. Let's go to the results from yesterday. I just thought we had, not the results, but actually the GC, so we just kind of have an idea. Remember, Vingegaard, he's in the lead by 25 seconds, 134 over Jai Hindley, 330 over Rodriguez. Then you have Adam Yates, 340. We're going to just do top 10 here. Simon Yates, 401. David Gaudu, 403. Romain Bardet, 443. So that's what you get. Pidcock down here in 9th at 443. And then Sepp Kuss at, 528 for the top 10 here. And we talked about Mike Woods. And I said this was a good day for Mike Woods. 32nd place at 28 minutes back. He was up there to begin with. And then kind of live with Tyler Young. Yeah, Victor, thank you for joining again tonight. I appreciate it. And I'll let you guys have the day off tomorrow, which I will do as well. It's going to be a tough work week, so it'll be somewhat interesting. Okay, so we've talked about this stage. I've been kind of pointing to it because it's been fairly interesting. There's the profile. It's got some lumps in it, and I said, hey, you got Nilson Palace that might be able to go out there and get some the KOM stuff early in a break. I did also say Mike Woods. I thought that was a great thing, and then obviously the Jumbo and the Pogacar, they all want to get stage wins. So with all that in mind, let's jump right to the Puy de Dome and the eruptions. It's a gorgeous area. I mean, look at this out here. It's just a wonderful scenery. And this road comes up, and then it's super steep, but it corkscrews its way all the way around, kind of a straight road that just slowly bends. And it doesn't look all that bad there, but man, it gets really tough at the top. And so it was going to be tough. I guess Romain Poulidor, which was the grandfather of Mathieu van der Poel. He was a French grandfather. He had died, and this is an area where he had lived, so they had commemorated that a bit. And then, I guess it was really hot as well. So there's Mathieu van der Poel getting some sort of award for his grandfather. There's all the main rivalries we have there. There's the race going to the east, this time from Saint-Léonard-de-Noblat to Puy de Dome, which we've talked about over and over and over. There's the stage profile. Right away, you had Victor Campenaerts get up the road, starting a breakaway, and I think it was about 14, and they got established quick and early. You had Nelson Pallas in there, Mahe Mohoric, Berted for AG2R, Izagiri, Matteo Jorgensen. Maybe I'll go through and say Litsenko, Mike Woods, Boivin, Campenaerts, De La Cruz. Who else do you have in there? Latour, Abrahamson, Brigado, Grigord, Abramson. Who else did we get there? And I think that was it. A few other guys were trying to jump up in the break, but for the most part, that's what it was. And they got a huge break. I guess Skilmos and Bettiol were going at it. These guys come over to get the sprint point, and 1 point was left for Philipsen. All the KOMs were being taken hand in hand by Nelson Pallas. So he was adding to his Palmares today of at least the KOM points, socking those in. And look, so the sprint gets up the road. They have 12 minutes or so, and then they start fighting at each other. Boivin, so there's a few teammates in here, right? Yeah. And look, I'm watching this. I come to the couch. I have about 70 kilometers or so, or even more. I'm watching this. Then I see this break here, and then I see that the break is going to stay away. And so I start to assess who's in the move. And look, all things being equal, Mike Woods is going to be the climber. And then, like Tour of Oman, you had Jorgensen. We've talked about this. Jorgensen wins the Tour of Oman. He gets fourth in one of the classics there, coming in right behind Pogacar. And but he didn't look so good in the Dauphiné. He's looked good in a few other Pyrenees. I think it was another one he did well, fourth, I think I want to say on there. But then the Dauphiné coming in the Tour, he just wasn't quite right. And otherwise, I'd say maybe he was going to be actually better climbing than Mike Woods. But and then you got Nelson Pallas, who can climb very well. But this Tour, he's too active. Lutsenko, he's a guy that came in with high hopes for Astana. He dropped out of contention right away. And so he's not quite on there as well. And then Mike Woods started out rock solid in the Pyrenees in those steep stages. He was up there, and that's his ball game. Liège-Bastogne-Liège, he's podiumed in. He's won stages in the Vuelta. World Championships to Alejandro Valverde, who was third, I think, in that one. In there in Norway. So the guy can obviously go uphill, and if things are going right, he's the guy to look at. And the Bertet for AG2R, he did a real good move the other day for Felix Gall. And so you've got to kind of watch him as well. That was my thinking here. Well, so the break is going to make it. So at this point, they start fighting, and there's some moves going up the road. Things are getting pulled back. Riders are trying to have to fill things out. And Matteo Jorgensen at 47.6 kilometers. And boy, if he had just maybe held on to 47 kilometers, another 500 meters, we'll talk about that in a bit. He breaks away and immediately starts to get up the road. Matter of fact, he gets 30 seconds quite quickly. And then you have another little break of guys that tried to go after him. You've got De La Cruz, Nelson Pallas, Latour, Mohoric. And then De La Cruz had a mechanical, so he there you go, he pops out of this. And these guys, then they were like 25, 30 seconds, and then you have the main group with Woods, and they're like a minute 12, and that gap starts to grow more and more. And by the time they're hitting the bottom of the climb, by the way, as they're coming up to the last 40 kilometers, it's pitching. These guys are coming off of this little group here. It looks pretty tough, but Matteo Jorgensen is coming into this thing with about a minute lead over Nelson Pallas's little group with Mohoric and Pierre Latour. Now, Pierre Latour is another one that can go uphill, but you don't always know how these guys are going to go. So being in the break, you would say typically he's not the best, but there you go. So there's like a minute about from Jorgensen has a lead over the Nelson Pallas group, and he keeps stringing this thing out, and those guys are going hard. And then you've got almost another 45 seconds or so back to the Mike Woods, almost another minute. It was almost Jorgensen, a minute to Pallas, and then a minute back to Mike Woods. And I'm texting with Chris and Kurt and Matt Tufts, and I'm just saying some things, and I'm just like, first of all, Jorgensen is all him. So he's all in. He's burning the most energy. Then you got the next group, even though Pallas and Mohoric were kind of dicking around and squirting back and forth, they were at least able to sit on a bit, and then they're not obviously going quite as hard because they're losing about a minute here. And then there's the Mike Woods group. I know they're not showing him, but I'm like, he could just be chilling in that group. And I'm like, that is still a big concern for me. And 14 kilometers, here you go. It's a minute. There's Puy de Dome. Meanwhile, back in the main chase group, Jumbo's starting to ramp things up. Jai Hindley's group's up there, Pogacar's group's up there, and it's a hot one. They're sweating their balls off. Sepp Kuss is back a little ways, and he easily moves up. And it's just a little bit different slog because it's just all the way into this area. It looks like a slow climbing, up and down, pitchy stuff. 3.1, the last 4 kilometers when it starts to get a little sketchy. And look at this, 3.1, Mohoric starts to drop Nilsen Palace along with Pierre Latour, and they've got 122 to Jorgensen, okay? It's 204 back, but you can see in the background already is Mike Woods at 3.1, and you're like, oh my, he's not considered on this little template up here. There's no way that's 204 back to him. He's just a few seconds, maybe 15 seconds back from these guys, and they're 122, and he is coming on. And so Mohoric, by the way, looked really strong, started dropping these guys with no problem. But then here comes Mike Woods, just rockets himself with 2.6 to go for Jorgensen, rockets himself past Latour, and then he's on the way. And man, that was a slow, I'm watching this, and I wish I could just fast forward the TV a bit, because Jorgensen is just slowing down, and it's like 1.2, come on, 1.1, 1.0, and then Mike Woods has him in sight. And at this point, you could just even see the pedaling style. He catches him with 450 to go, and that last little ramp is super steep, and Jorgensen has nothing in the tank here. Mike Woods comes up and over the top. What an amazing stage to win. He gets the stage win. Jorgensen himself almost falls, it looks like here, and you can see Pierre Latour ends up coming past Jorgensen. Jorgensen does finally crest the final top, and then Mohoric takes him right on the line, and he was just nothing left in the tank. Meanwhile, back down the hill we go, and Sepp Kuss and Kelderman had the race first, then Sepp Kuss is in there, and then Sepp is just kind of slowing things down. And when he does, Pidcock comes up there, Yates is up there, Rodriguez is up there, Vinigo, and obviously Pogacar, and then there's Pidcock takes a little jump, Yates takes one jump, Yates takes another one, Simon that is, and then finally at the 1.5 to go here is when Pogacar puts it down. Okay, now immediately Vinigo is able to jump on the wheel here, but slowly and surely the rubber band starts to snap, and when that happens, it's just ever so slight. It's just ever so slight that Vinigo can't quite, it's almost there. He starts to claw back. He's not quite getting it there. And then in the end, it's really a mind F by Pogacar, because he gets him by 8 seconds. And at some point, it looks like he's probably got more than 8 seconds. So it's a good battle between these two, really digging deep. But, comes over the top, doesn't even see him here, Pogacar. And then here's Vinigo, and he does close it down. Loses 8 seconds. 8 seconds on this climb. Not so bad. It was a great battle. It was fun to watch. Really good. And now Rodriguez comes in, Pidcock comes in. Now Pidcock, this is a little odd here. Why are you leaving your team leader? You're outside the top 10. We just already went through that. And your Rodriguez is the guy that's a little bit closer here, and you're trying to sprint around Simon Yates, and you're dropping your team leader here. You should not be doing that. Doesn't make any sense at all. Pidcock obviously felt good, but he puts some seconds into Rodriguez. Right behind him, here comes Adam Yates, and then Jai Hindley, and then right behind Jai Hindley, and that was Sepp Kuss. There you go. Mike Woods gives the wink, gets the win. De La Cruz, he was another guy that was could be concerning as far as on this, but he had a mechanical. So there you go. Nilsen Palace still gets some KOM jersey points. Woods, 28 over Latour, 35 over Mohoric, 36 over Jorgensen. Just heartbreak for him to be so close to get the win. So I thought at one point I honestly, with about 5K to go there, I'm like, I had all these worries that I just pointed out and the concerns, because the real dangerous climber is Mike Woods in this whole scheme, and he played it the smartest, didn't explode himself up, but I'm like, we could go 1-2 being the US. You could get Jorgensen at Walnut Creek boy here in California, Nilsen Palace, Roseville boy here. You could get those 1-2. In the end, it ended up being a 4 and a 6. Close. Okay. Brian says Pog doesn't often show pain faces, but he had a good one today. 30+ minute climb is stretching his wheelhouse. Very true. But he timed it just right. And that last 1.5 kilometers was, I'll get to the KOM stuff. Brian wants to know what the KOM jersey rankings are. We'll get to that. I think it's 46 to 28 or something around that for Nelson Palace. But you're right. And Vinigo says the Alps climbs are going to be much more to his liking. This is a long one. Should have been good for Vinigo. But I mean, maybe that broken wrist, getting some rest, coming in just a little undercooked for Pogačar is going to be exactly what he needs. I'm loving the fact that this is close. It wasn't a blowout one way or another. All it does is keep shrinking things down. It's getting it more and more exciting as the days go on. So Mike Woods, very impressive. What is he, 36? Very impressive win on the day. I'd like to see the times up there to see how fast he went compared to everyone else. Vinigo's in the lead by 17. So you got a little, Romain Bardet had a bad day, and the race basically, I think at the bottom of the hills where he lives. So it's not such a good day for him. But Sepp Kuss moves up into 9th place. Look at that, Pidcock, he's up there. Rodriguez. And once again, why are you leaving your main guy on the day there? Then you have a rest day, and then we're going to do some things. This next day here looks just like made for a breakaway. There you go. There's GCN. So watch it on GCN if you need to. KOM. Let's get to all the results we can. Let's go to what's called the complimentary results. These are the sprints on the day. I don't know if you really care about those. Philipsen got 1 point from coming from the pack there. He broke out. Palace wins 1 point for the first KOM, 1 point for the second KOM, 1 point for the third KOM. And then the final one, he gets 6. And I think for the finishing, you also get some more points. So he got another 15 points there. Matteo Jorgensen gets the most combative rider. That's good for him. And then Jorgensen also on the youth classification day. Team rank, Astana up in there. So let's go to the results for the day. And like I said, Mike Woods there. Let's go to the KOM since you asked. Nilsson, yeah, there you go. 46 to 28. He'll hold that for, and we'll go through some of those climbs here coming up. He'll hold that for a while. I don't think Felix Gall has gotten anything for quite some time. There you go. So 2 places, Pidcock moves up. Once again, I don't know why he was leaving his team leader at the finish. I know it's super steep and all, but you do what you can to just guide him in. Sepp Kuss moves up. Pidcock up 2. David Gaudu moves down 1. He had a little bit of a bad day, 6:01. And Romain Bardet moves down 2. He's at 6:58. Mike Woods moves up the bunch, as did Palace et al. Okay, I thought we would also take a quick look here at some info about the Puy de Dome, which I learned today. I thought it was quite interesting. One, I didn't know. I thought it was only back in the 60s with Jacques Anquetil and then the 74, but no, they've done it like 15 times in the Tour de France, and you can see the different times. They used to have a race called Puy de Dome back in 1952, and then that's when they first did it in the Tour de France. Fausto Coppi was the winner, Bohamontes in 59, Julio Jimenez in 64, Felice Gimondi in 67, Pierre Montagnon in 69. Then they did a race, the Puy de Dome again, the Tour de France, Luis Ocaña. Then they did the Astel de Sport. That's the junior race. There's another one here. Let's go back to the Tour. 73, Ocaña. Lucien Van Impe in 75. That's the time when Eddie Merckx, I think, got punched in the kidney. Joop Zoetemelk in 76. Now look at this. This is so fascinating. Joop Zoetemelk in 76. He also wins again in 78. This guy was like perennial second place. Angel Herrera in 83, and then 86, Joop Zoetemelk was also up there on the top. He didn't win that day. Eric Mackler did. But 86 was, and I dug into this a little bit more today. Victor says Cavendish announced his retirement. Okay, well, good for Cav. It makes some sense at least. In 1986, we all know that one for the Cannonball. It's the Greg LeMond, not the Cannonball, the Badger, I guess. You know, the big battle with Bernardino and Greg LeMond, the battle back and forth in the team, the whole thing. That one, by the way, 23 stages that year. They had accused in 1985, they said that race was too easy. So the organizers said, well, we'll show you. And then they obliterated it everyone in 1986. That's the one that Greg LeMond ends up winning. But stage 21 out of 23, so 23 stages, by the way. No rest. I think they had one rest day, and they started early and ended late. And they also started late to accommodate, I think, the Olympics as well. But they come up to this one with stage 21, and then the last 2 days, you think, okay, but then on Puy de Dome, it's day's not over. Everyone had already pretty much conceded. So this was almost a boring race back in 1986. And I watched a video of it today. Andy Hampson actually moves up a bit. It does pretty good on the day. Zoetemelk as well. And like I said, Eric Mackler won, kind of like today where you get a breakaway. Andy Hampson, Greg LeMond didn't try at all to do anything with Bernardino. I think he put a minute on him, but it's just interesting that you have a day that's so steep and could be very decisive. You can lose minutes on that, and they kind of all conceded. Johnny Welts in 88, that's the last time they had gone up here. And then today, Mike Woods. Punch in the Liver, 1975. Copy overtakes Knowlton just before the Puy de Dome summit in 1952. Those are some important facts they said there. I thought it was a really fascinating kind of stage to have today. Just the view of it, the fact that it also, for me, I like the situation where you have the kind of two races in one, where, for the most part we had, let's go up to these rules. Let's actually want to look at some of these. There we go. Matteo Jorgensen. I just like to see where you almost have two races in one, where you can watch the break, and it was fantastic. I mean, the silence at the line was weird, because they weren't letting anybody, for the last 4 kilometers up the finish. And I wonder if that has anything to do with like how Jorgensen might have raced any differently had there been a crowd up there. Let's see what he says here, because he says mental battle as he comes close to two Americans. Most movie stars American went into the bottom of the mythical climb alone, but ended up finishing fourth. Last time it was up there was da-da-da-da. However, despite a time gap of chasers going into the final climb on stage 9, the movie star rider had his heart broken as he was first caught by Mike Woods, then Pierre Latour, then Mohamed Mahoric. Woods went into the win. There was no podium finish for the 24-year-old, just a consolation combativity award, gold numbers on Tuesday might not salve those wounds. Quote, I started to feel empty with 1 kilometer to go, and you could see it. And then before I knew it, Mike was there passing me. It was a surprise, but there was absolutely nothing I could do. He attacked at 40 kilometers to go. Actually, it was 47. I had to play my hand a little early, he said. I knew if I was in that group, I wouldn't be able to match Woods and Nilsson Palace. So I knew I had to get away in a small group or solo. I ended up going solo. So from there, I went all in. In the end, you just have to hope that behind they blow up or whatever, because a minute at the bottom of that climb wasn't quite enough. The American was the first one on the climb, the first to experience racing on the road since 1988 tour with no fans allowed the last 4.2 kilometers to go mark. It was a tough ride. It made it even more silent by the fact that his radio didn't work. Oh, that's a bummer. It was way harder having no people, and it made it absolutely a mental battle, he said, and having no information. You're just there suffering. And in the end, you felt like you were on a training ride because you are so quiet. It was a weird atmosphere. The radio didn't work the whole climb. Jorgensen continued. As soon as we started around the corner of the mountain, the cars were at the bottom, and I didn't have any radio. So the only time gap I had was the moto. He was telling me a minute, then 40 seconds, then 35. And 35 was the last one I got with 1 kilometer to go, which was close. With 1 kilometer, it was right in that area, and then it just collapsed. Despite the heartbreak of watching his debut tour slip through his fingers, Jorgensen was happy he made the effort. Another day, it might have paid off. He certainly went to watch as the race goes on. I had to play my hand and go early, he said. I am happy with the risk I took. It could have paid off. Today, they were too strong. It was so steep, and we were going so slow. Woods, just had better legs. At that point, I was completely empty. I was close, but chapeau to Mike. 500 meters at 12% is something difficult. I had good legs. That's a positive sign. There are plenty of opportunities. Yeah, it's a bummer for him for sure, but it's what it is. Last thing I'll take a look at here is Kevin Vermaak, unfinished business. Maybe we'll bring this one up, and then we'll be done. Just go through a few little articles. he says, oh, and by the way, we'll get to the Americans real quick. Quinn Simmons dropped out. He DNS today. He had that wreck the other day. Matter of fact, he was right next to and right behind Mark Cavendish when it happened yesterday. So I would be interested to see if he had any thoughts on that. Kevin Maka said, I think I took a big step up after racing the Tour last year. Obviously, the debut at the Tour was a really big deal for me. Even though I didn't finish, I gained a lot of confidence. He is from Thousand Oaks, California. The whole winter, I was just training, thinking about this race and thinking about coming back here as the best possible shape. And I think I'm able to do that pretty well. Yeah, he had a wreck last year. I don't think you've got to be smart here. Everyone wants to win a stage. And if you're too desperate for it, then it's not going to come to you. So just gamble a little bit, trust the legs, trust the instinct, and try to race smart. At the summer and the Tour, it only takes one day to change the whole season. That's why I'm chasing it. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, and what I kind of the point of that one, and then we'll do one more thing here and then end out. My point on that one was that you saw Roman Bardet is slipping down further and further, and when that happens, much like Matteo Jorgensen, I think you're going to get more and more chances for some of these other guys to fly the flag. So Matteo Jorgensen has been able to do that because Enric Mas crashed out in stage 1. I think you're going to get Kevin Vermaken maybe a chance to start doing that because Roman Bardet is slipping out, and there's some great opportunities, and DSM needs some results. Okay, Nilson Powless has been. Let's just go up here to the nations. Let's just focus on the Americans real quick. Nilson Powless has been flying the flag. Obviously, Sepp Kuss is doing it. You've been Jorgensen, he moves up 20 today. Kevin moves up 20 today, which he's an hour 30 behind. Lawson Craddock, he was up there in the final climb for Simon for a while. And then as far as the stage goes, Quinn Simmons was a DNS. He just had wrecked a while ago, so he didn't have he wasn't had the ability to take this on. So Sepp Kuss is not going to get a chance to win a stage. Nilson Powless is going to keep continuing on. Obviously, Matteo Jorgensen, great all day out there. That was a great, fantastic 40 some kilometers. So, as far as the Americans go, we may not get a win. This is probably our best chance. Brian says that UAE had the whole day off except for Paul. Yeah. For the most part, yeah, they didn't really have to do much at all. And I haven't watched Horner to see what tactical problems everyone had. I don't think to be honest with you, I don't think there were, as far as the two top teams, there was tactical problems to be had. I think Jonas did fine. I don't know. Do you have to do what you did there? Probably. It's perfectly fine too. I didn't have a problem with what Sepp Kuss did leading them in. I mean, you saw at the end there, Jonas is so close to being just fine. And really Sepp Kuss didn't put the hammer down to the point where he destroyed his own teammate, Jonas. But he didn't really destroy that field either. So there was some weirdness with that part. It's for the most part, it's battle mano on the last bit, and you let those guys go at it. Okay, so that was today's stage. We're gonna get a rest day tomorrow. Then stage 10, we start heading over towards closer to the Alps. This looks like a perfect breakaway day. Are we gonna see Nilson Powless once again? He doesn't. So whoever gets all these KOM points, they're not gonna come close to him. So maybe the eventual winner of the KOM jersey, if it's not him, might be. So I don't know that maybe Nelson. I'm just saying you have a rest day tomorrow, maybe take another one on Tuesday. But this to me looks like a prime breakaway day for somebody, maybe Kevin, maybe some of these other ones, De La Cruz and some of these other guys that had a chance or that still may want a chance. Stage 11. We'll just walk through the week here. Once again, Cat 4 climbs, you get 1 point? That's the deal. So I think Cat 4s are like usually 1 point. And I think Cat 3s are maybe 3 and 1. So not a lot of points that you're going to be getting for these anyway. So once again, this is another breakaway day or possibly a sprinter's day. Look for Phillips and we go there. Stage 12, a little bit more. So you got a 3 and a 2. This is, I would say, Nelson, maybe take the next 2 days or, take Monday off. Obviously it's a rest day. Tuesday, Wednesday, and then maybe Thursday, you try for this because there's some more points that are a little bit more significant and maybe have a better chance at collecting the big Cat 2 points there, 2 of them at the end. But then we have the Grand Galibier with the HC. This is a short stage. It's going to be fireworks. I think you're going to have guys trying to get the break to go up there, and I think it's just going to be too short. So it might be just a quick run to the line of the bottom of the climb, and you've got what here? 17.8 kilometers at 7%. So we're looking at for some mightiness. And then 14, you're really getting into the jus plan, like we said. And 14 and then 15. I don't know what day we're on here, but Saint-Gervais Mont Blanc. So Croix de Fleur. What else do we have? I don't really recognize any of those other ones. So there we go. I mean, come on, enjoy your rest day. That's what I'll say. And then who is going to make it the next one? What are we going to have for this next week? I think it's pretty exciting. The first 9 days have been fantastic. The TT, Brian, is actually, what do you have? The stage 15. I think it's stage 16. It's the only time trial we have. And it is 22.4 kilometers, a bit of a climb up the end. But for me, it says 2.8 at 8.5. So is this kind of a repeat of what we had at the Giro? I'll do a comparison of those and do a little breakdown. So I'm not sure which day it is. It's stage 16. It's probably getting close to maybe the next Tuesday. I'll look at that and we'll have a little bit of a better breakdown of that one. So anyway, take the day off. And everybody enjoy on Monday. And then Tuesday we'll come back here and we'll do some predictions. I say a breakaway is going to happen. You're not going to see much action until about Wednesday or Thursday from the GC guys. And hopefully no one makes some stupid mistakes. Other than that, everybody, I hope you have a good week.